plus 6. It's 13 of you. Yes, I counted right. Okay. I think someone's missing, but anyway. Okay. Hi.
Hi.
For those of you who don't know me, I'm Sarah. That's just the people in the back. If you have any questions, just shout. So today we're going to start on Impressionism. Has anybody here done any art history or know anything about art history, like a little bit? Okay, cool. So I'm going to try not to bore you, but I think it's important to understand the context of things before you understand why isn't something you're making today an Impressionist painting. So this was the painting that the Impressionists got their name from. It's called Impression Sunrise, but in French. And it was received pretty negatively by the art world when it was created, because the art critic who actually went to go see the exhibit just said this is a bunch of, he described them as 6 or 7 lunatics, one of which is a woman. So they thought these people were absolutely off their rocker for creating something like this and calling it art. He said it was a sketch at best, it looked unfinished and amateurish. So before Impressionism, the art world was mostly dominated in France by the Salon. So the Salon kind of controlled everything. This was the late 1800s, like 1874, I think, is when they had their first exhibit. So this was shortly after all the industrial revolutions and cultural revolutions and political revolutions and things were happening. New things were being created and invented, like the camera and watercolor or paint in tubes, right? Up to this point, if you wanted to make yellow, you had to go dry some eggs and crush up the yellows and make yellow, and it would probably go bad, and it was a whole thing. So now suddenly you can go to the store and you can buy yellow. So there's not years and years and years into creating a work of art anymore. There's less gambling when you're creating something new and experimenting. So I want you to appreciate how awesome it is that you've got paint in tubes. So they did feel more free to experiment. They did feel like they could try new things. Also, the invention of the camera freed the artist from capturing the world exactly the way it was. They were inspired by the camera, the way that camera only captures light. It doesn't care about shape, it doesn't care about anything, it only records the light, the moment of light the way it is. It also doesn't put people perfectly nicely in the middle of a frame and then put black behind them. Things spill over the edges, like this bar scene, which is also a very well-known Impressionist painting. You can kind of see how things just kind of spill beyond the frame. There's a guy on the right that you don't see. You are probably the guy. You're looking from his point of view, maybe. So that's the other thing. They were painting everyday scenes. Up to this point, there was a big divide between what was art-worthy and what wasn't. So bar scenes, and remember, 1870s, women did not go in bars. Nice, well-respectable young ladies did not visit bars. So this was a man's world. A woman who worked in a bar was maybe just a step above a prostitute. She wasn't a respectable woman. And here the artist chooses to make her the subject of the painting, which was a little bit scandalous back then. So they were saying, no, everyday life is worth capturing. It is worth spending the time drawing and painting. So the realist movement, we'll talk about them in a second, was a big influence in this regard. We talked a little bit about the defiance of authority, and so one of those things that happened when they started having these revolutions all over Europe was they said, why should we listen to this art authority that tells us what is and what isn't worth painting? We'll have our own exhibition. And so they started splintering off from the Salon. Well, they weren't, the other groups started splintering off too. The other thing was they rejected the formal elements. They said, so up to this point, paintings were, I'll show you a few examples. So if you look at like classical paintings, these are mostly Baroque the first one on the left and the middle one in the top are Baroque paintings. The one on the right and the bottom one are more like leaning towards Rococo. But you can see there's a lot of black in the background. It's very formalized, it's very stylized, it's planned, it's very neat and tidy and compact and put in a package. There isn't really a whole lot going on. And where women are portrayed in the nude, it's because they're a goddess and they're taking a bath, and obviously this is mythology and therefore it's okay to draw this. So the Impressionists for the first time started representing, well, the realists did it before them. They started representing life the way it was, not the way that we wanted to look on a canvas. And that's part of how the camera influenced them. They made it look gritty. The camera at this point started becoming a little bit more affordable. At this point, it was cheaper to produce a photograph than a painting. So this was about where the Impressionists fit into this. So if we go back here, so breaking from the formal elements, breaking from what the salon told them they could and couldn't paint, and they said, we will paint what we want. Also, this was a movement that included some women. So we'll talk about them in a minute. And then we talked about that. Oh, and the fleeting light thing is kind of important, but that'll come up again. So this is one of the realist paintings that basically, it's like it broke the internet, but it broke the art world. People thought this was unbelievably scandalous when it first appeared. This did appear in the salon. Edward Manet was one of the Impressionists, and this was one of his earlier paintings that fell under the realism banner. So for the first time ever, a woman, and she's not a goddess, she's not from mythology, she's not special in any way, she's just an ordinary person. Actually, she's a prostitute, is sitting on the grass, looking straight at the camera, naked, for no reason in the middle of the day. This is realism, it's gritty, it's ugly, and they wanted to show Parisian culture the way it truly was. There's the food from the picnic just kind of like on the ground. It doesn't look delicious, it doesn't look appetizing, and the art world lost their minds about this, okay? So this movement really inspired the Impressionists a lot. This is called Luncheon on the Grass, and you can see the elements of classical paintings in how the figures are arranged in Luncheon on the Grass. So these are some classical paintings. You can see the postures and the poses, but here they're made natural by the scene. There's a prostitute in the background bathing. You might imagine why. There's a guy mansplaining something to his friend with his hand up, which is a good reason to have your hand up in this posture. And then this naked lady just kind of looking at like, what do you want? So this is another picture from the realist, or painting from the realist period that is very, what's the word I'm looking for? Iconic. Not iconic. It's a good one for demonstrating what the movement was about. It's called Song of the Lark. So the realists wanted to show working class people. So up to this point, if you're going to paint a portrait of a lady standing all regally, it was probably going to be some rich lady with the money to commission a historical portrait, or her husband has the money to commission a historical portrait. Up to this point, remember we talked about the art critics, the art institutions decided what was and wasn't worth painting. They decided this by either showing an artist's work or not showing it. And if you didn't get shown, you didn't make money and you starved. So, so here you have a worker in a field, early in the morning, before sunrise. She's singing, she's barefoot, she's dressed in rags, she's holding the implement that shows that she's a worker, unlike these ladies who are holding flowers because they don't have to work.
So this Jules Breton, did he make any money? Probably not.
I mean, like.
Well, he was a
how
realist,
did he
so he
manage
was.
to paint this?
I honestly don't know that much about this artist. Go Google it.
He probably died young because he didn't make any money.
I honestly can't answer that question for you. I just know that he is included in realist paintings, so I don't know if made money posthumously or not. But the realist movement was still somewhat respectable. It was still included in the salon. Like they did exhibit these paintings in the salon because they still followed, even though this is portraying an ordinary woman who is a working class lady with a sickle in her hand, barefoot in a field before sunrise. It follows the art conventions of there's composition, there's planning going on in terms of the colors, where they go, how the figure is placed in the scene. In fact, if you look at this picture and you look at the lady on the far right, there's not much difference, right? It's compositionally, it's very, very similar. In fact, the one on the far right is called Portrait of a Lady in a Landscape, I think. Yes, yeah. Portrait of a Lady in a Landscape. So it's kind of the same thing. They just changed the subject of the painting, but they're still using traditional art techniques. They're still creating depth, they're still shading, there's still technique and brushwork, and you can see that this person that painted this knows what they're doing, right? It looks realistic, but it's realistic not just in the painting style, but in like what life is. So these were some of the influences. The other influences for the Impressionists was Romanticism, but especially Turner's work. So Romanticism was all about painting nature and landscapes mostly, and they used them to express the artist's feelings and also as like spiritual experiences, basically. So Turner painted, you can see the difference between the two paintings, how this scene captures the emotion. The one on the left is a slave ship throwing dead bodies overboard or throwing people overboard before a typhoon hits to get lighter. So obviously there's
What's a typhoon?
It's the same as a hurricane. Yeah.
Only in the Pacific.
Yeah. So it's just different names for the same thing, basically. When I lived in Taiwan, they called them a typhoon. Anyway. Yeah. So that's dark. It's got a lot of reds and angry colors in it. Lots of angry, emotive brushwork. And then the one on the right is a castle.
It's like a sunshine.
The one on the left? Yeah, there is
the one in the blue.
Yeah, the one in the blue, the one on the right is a sunrise, Norham Castle sunrise. Yeah. So it's a sunrise over a lake by a castle. It's serene, okay? It's like
so if I don't see the castle.
Yeah, you don't see. I guess you're looking from the castle or something. I don't really know, but it's. I guess it's the view from the castle when the sun rises. Like you're in the castle and you're looking out the window.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. So some of the methods. Oh, let's go back to the lady in the bar because I don't think we talked. Did we talk? Yeah, we talked about all this. Okay, so the methods that they used. Open air painting was something that was still fairly new. Like for the most part up to this point, artists would paint in their studios. These guys took their easels and their brushes and their paints and headed outside and sat down in a garden and painted what they saw. They often painted in a single sitting, which was just insanity. Because how do you have time to finish a work in a single sitting? You do if you're painting straight from the tube. So loose brushwork, a lot of short, choppy lines and stippling, as you can see in the picture. We'll see more examples of that later. They avoided the use of black. Even the dark colors in this, their blues and greens and purples, their complementary colors are used to make areas darker. They avoided black like the plague. They didn't want the paintings to feel heavy like the work of the Baroque artists did. So it's all light and airy, lots of pastels, so many pastels.
Was the plan to actually finish it in one sitting?
For the most part, yeah, because the point was to capture light conditions and a fleeting moment the way that the camera does.
Yeah, I'm just trying to imagine trying to capture that scene and they're changing shadows.
Doubt that
how
she did
quickly?
this in one sitting.
How quickly can you get that? And then, you know, before you get a change in the quote moment.
Yeah. So I don't know that this is one that she did in a single sitting, but I'll show you some examples of ones that were done in a single sitting in a little while here. Yeah, it sure is. So yeah, rejected the planning and the formal composition. They paint in a single sitting. So like I said, no formalized, like structured, organized pictures. And then the sketchy style, they rejected clarity of form. So this one is not the best example of rejecting clarity of form. This is much better, right? There is maybe a harbor going on in the background, but the humans are, they're not important. What's important here is capturing the vibe, right? The city bustling before sunrise, the smog, the fact that everything's kind of hazy and like sort of one color, sky and earth and everything kind of captures the same color. So the light and color and the reflection of light becomes the subject of the painting. Here's another example that's a good example. It's fog visions, also in French. So the human figure is like not important at all. The human figure has her back turned to the viewer. You can't even make her out very well. So there's lots of sketchy brushwork. This is another example of fleeting light conditions. So this would definitely be one that they did in one sitting. They might have added like some of the spots of the flowers in the foreground later on and stuff like that, but the overall scene would have been sketched really quickly before the fog evaporated. So yeah, the subject is the light and color. There's juxtaposition of complementary colors. So you can see what are the two complementary colors that are juxtaposed in this picture. Yellow and purple. Yeah, yellow and purple. Because when you put yellow and purple together, the yellow jumps out at you. It goes to the forefront because it's the lighter of the colors. So that's how they create the depth. They make the things in the background more purple and the things in the front more blue. This is another example of how they're rejecting formal composition. You'll see like it feels real, like it's real cluttered on this side of the painting, and like there really isn't a focal person. Like your eye kind of gets drawn to this dude, but he's like off with the fairies. He doesn't like really, he's not posing for the camera or anything. He's like doing his own thing. So rejecting formal composition, everything spills beyond the painting, and if you were looking at the work of a master, you'd expect the people over here that are background to be further, like, to look like they're further behind, not to be so clear, not to be so light. So they reject all of that, like, forget about perspective, for the birds, we don't need it. Very bright colors, very vivid colors, and they're just depicting ordinary everyday life. This is just some friends partying on a boat. That's all. This is one of the examples from Mary Cassatt. She was one of the female impressionists, and she was one of the first ones that joined them for their original. She was the woman in the band of maniacs or lunatics. This is a painting of her sister reading the paper. This was at the time where women were starting to petition for the vote. So it's a very intimate scene. It's something that, like, if you're thinking of paintings of rich women, they're sitting like this. Maybe they're embroidering or something, like from the early or from the late 1800s. They're very prim. They're very posed. She's just relaxed. She's not idealized. She's probably got some double chin action going on there. She's reading a paper. She's also shown doing something that's traditionally associated with a man. Why is this woman reading the paper? Why is she informed? Because she wants to vote. So asymmetrical composition, Nothing fancy going on, but also the use of color, the loose brushwork, and somehow you can see exactly what's going on. You know, like there's no words on the paper, but you can tell what it is. Sketchy style. Some of the focus of the Impressionists. Like we say, the subject is light itself. So they didn't really paint the scene so much as the light reflected by the scene, as a camera does. Everyday life and real imperfect world. So that was a continuation of the realists. They avoided lofty subjects. So no gods, no heroes, no historical figures, nothing important, okay? Just the lady with a parasol in a field and some ballerinas who were also very similar to sex workers at the time, like on the social totem pole. Not quite, but close. Cafe scenes, something that's a little bit scandalous. Intimate scenes, so the Lydia reading her paper would be an example of an intimate scene. The women couldn't go to the bars and paint what was going on in the bars, so they painted children throwing a tantrum on a chair and stuff like that. And then movement. They loved capturing movement, like the billowing dress and the clouds waving by and the field, the ballerinas twirling. The ballerinas is actually a pastel drawing. This is an example of one of the four of the 25 paintings that Monet did on haystacks in different light conditions. So I don't know how ordinary you want to get. So winter, summer, late summer, they've all got names like that. This is the cathedral, the Rouen Cathedral, a specific entrance to the Rouen Cathedral in 3 different light conditions. So yes, these he would do in a single sitting. So yeah, he's not painting the cathedral.
You come back in the afternoon and do.
Yeah, something like that. I could not ascertain how many of these he did, but a buttload. So there's a few more of them. So yeah, so the subject was light itself and time-specific effects of light. So he's not painting the cathedral, he's not doing the lines, he's not doing the structure, he is painting how the light falls on the cathedral. This is the Grand Canal. I don't know if you guys can see this. The idea was that I would enlarge this one enough so you guys could see the brushwork. Are you able to see the brushwork? No? I don't know if I can make it bigger. Let's see. Can you see brushwork now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, is it working out?
And it doesn't look like anything till you back up.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, that's the beauty of the Impressionist.
This is oil?
Yes, this is oil on
It looks kind of
canvas.
like pastel.
No, this is oil on canvas. But even their oils, they used like pastels, even their paints. So lots of like little lines that kind of blend together to create the scene. And there's no outlines, there's no harsh lines, there's no planning, there's no pre-sketching, there's none of that. They just start painting. This is another one, an example of how they're just studying light. The woman just happens to be there. But really what it's about is the stippling light through the tree as she reads. Here's another one. This is Poppy Field by Claude Monet. It's a good example of an Impressionist landscape. You can see that he did not go sit and draw every leaf of the freaking poppy. Okay, he didn't make like little stamens for the poppies. It's a splot of red with a splot of darker red on top of it. That's your poppy. There you go. Have fun. This is the Monet family in their garden. So again, you've got the child just kind of going, and the woman, she's not posing. There's no, it's not idealized. It's not a family portrait. They're just lounging. They're loafing in the garden. The gardener is back there doing some gardener stuff, and there's some chickens that are just free roaming. I don't think this rich family really wants to be associated with the chickens running around, but there you go. And again, The shade makes the whole picture cool, right? Changes the colors. Here's a close-up of water lilies. Claude Monet did like a crazy amount of water lily paintings. This is one of them. The water lilies are literally like a...
Cool, like, as opposed to haystacks,
I can see why. Yeah, well, he also had the pond in his backyard, so it was really accessible. It's the way that artists draw their hands a lot, because they're right there. But you can see that the water lilies themselves are literally, they look like crayon spirals. Okay? So that's really what I want you guys to see is the brushwork. There's another one. I'm going to zoom in even more so you guys can see the brushwork. So, quick.
It looks like somebody went
Did
crazy.
that quickly.
That's what I want you to do.
And
Okay.
what about Seurat? He did the little tiny dots, everything was done.
That he was post-impressionism, I believe. And then this is a modern impressionist painting. I only included this guy because he's got a very nice, clear picture of his brushwork up. So, but you can see how if you get up close, like we said before, it's just a bunch of dots. And then if you zoom out, it becomes a beautiful landscape. So that's what we're going to do today. That's the idea, at least. Questions, thoughts, comments?
don't you think that they would have used their phones if they had them? These are clearly like party shot, like the Renoir on the boat.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just a shot someone took at a moment.
Sure, probably, but actually for that, he did actually not do that painting in a single sitting. That was a bunch of his friends who posed for that painting at different points in his studio.
It's very detailed. So
Yeah, so that one was not done in a single sitting. Okay, so we're going to paint our own Impressionist style landscape. We can paint an Impressionist landscape. We live in 2023, okay? Lots has happened since Impressionism. We're free to paint whatever we want. So we're going to copy the Impressionist style and create whatever we want. If you want to draw flowers instead, you can see now why your flowers are probably the best idea. Okay. So if you haven't picked your landscape, please pick your landscape now, or your flowers, or your tree, or whatever it is you're going to draw.
Now, do we draw it first, or do we just?
Nope. So what we're going to do, and I'll show you.
Can you start?
Yeah, I'm going to show you guys. I was trying to turn up the lights, but
imagine like you were gonna
I'm like, can you show
us
on
give us
canvas?
a jump start.
okay. So that's why I have this up. So I'm going to pick a landscape, and I literally just pulled up a National Geographic, and this might not. I'm going to actually pick a different landscape from. There are National Geographics if you want to look at them, or you can also just pull something up from Google. So I'm going to do this. I'll show you what I'm going to do. So I'm going to Google landscape, and I'm going to go with flowers, because I want flowers in my landscape. Landscape with flowers, images. Ooh, that one looks good.
It's real small.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
It's a landscape. Yeah.
It's a landscape with
Yellow.
flowers.
Okay.
Yellows,
Good.
blues.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so that's what I decide I'm going to do. The reason I picked it is because it lends itself to Impressionist style drawing. Actually, I like this one better, so I'm going to do this one. Okay, so I'm going to make my landscape big. I'm going to screenshot it, and if it's copyright protected, it doesn't matter because you want it to be blurry. That works out better. Okay, so I'm going to screenshot it, and then you could just use it the way it is. What I'm going to do on mine is I'm going to hit crop, and then I'm going to measure my canvas. And this part is really, really important. Okay, so I'm going to measure my canvas that I'm working with, and this is the same size as those bigger ones if you're using the bigger ones. The small ones are 2 by 3. So this is 30 centimeters by 22.5 centimeters, so they're trying to mess me up and mess with my life.
Close to 2 by 3.
It's close to 2 by 3. I'm going to call it 2 by 3 for the sake of this experiment. Do you understand what I mean when I say 2 by 3?
A ratio.
Ratio. Do you understand when I say the ratio is 2 by 3? Who does not understand when I say the ratio is 2 by 3? Okay, no worries, no worries. So a square, the ratio
okay,
is
so there's
1
6
by
squares.
1.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So
So six
so if I cut this in half in 2 pieces,
Okay.
and then I take that,
And then
I
three
can
out.
put it in 1, 2, 3 times at the top.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah, I get it.
So 2 by 3.
So 6 squares.
Yeah, so 6 rectangles. Okay, so I know that this is 2 by 3. So on my crop function, I'm going to select 3 by 2. And I'm going to crop this image until it's a 3 by 2 image. So I might not get the whole image exactly the way that I had it originally, but I want a 3 by 2 image.
And you
Save.
can print it? Is that what you're
You
doing?
can if you want to. I'm just going to use my phone for this.
Can I send you a picture and you print it for me?
You can, but you have to go ask Catherine at the front desk. Do you want me to go get the address for you to actually? I'll do that as soon
Okay.
as we're done here.
Okay.
But yes, if you want to print your image out to color, it's 25 cents to do. So you can go do that. Okay, so I've got my image. So now printing it out actually might be a little bit easier because then you can draw on the paper. But on my phone, I also know that if I hit the crop button,
You have an
free.
Android, though.
Yeah, I have an Android. If I start zooming in on the image, it's going to bring up grid lines. So, yeah. So I'm gonna do it without the grid. So I guess I'll do one of these landscapes. Boring. Okay. So I'm gonna take this little section here. I'm gonna measure out 2 by 3. So, and then I'm going to use markers or pencils or pens. I prefer you didn't. I prefer you make a copy. You can write on it and keep it in the paper, in the magazine though. So I'm going to say 2 by 3 of this. So 2. Yeah, so I'm going to say if it's 2 by 3, how wide is this? 10. So let's make my 3 10. Let's make it 9. So my 3 is going to be 9. So if 3 is, so 9 divided by 3 is 3. So 3 times 2 is 6. So I can make it 6 centimeters tall. So that is the space I have to work with, and I want my horizon line. I decide that I want my horizon line to be about 1/3 of the way down. So I'm going to mark there and there. Then I'm going to draw a line there and there. You can also, if you have an app or a way to do this on your phone, you can do it that way.
I barely know how to make a phone call.
I can also help you with that. I'm fairly okay with technology, but okay. So that's my 2. So my 3 is going to be 9 centimeters. So it's there and there. And it doesn't have to be perfect because it's a landscape. And we can warp them a little bit and it will still be okay. So so that is the thing. That's the little square, the little 2 by 3 square I'm going to draw on my canvas. I meant to do that. It's okay, she can laugh at me. I laugh at myself. If you can't laugh at yourself, you've got bigger problems. Okay, so now to make it easier on myself, you can divide this up. So I can go 3, 6, I'm going to go 3 and 6, and I can draw my lines down. So I'm basically making a very simple grid. You can skip the grid if you're confident that you can paint the colors you see where you see them. And then I'm going to cut this in half. 6, 3. So 3 is there. So I'm going to just trust that that is fairly straight. It doesn't matter if it's not, because mountains and grass are fairly organic shapes that can kind of change those. Okay.
I don't think I'll finish today.
Yeah, we're doing this for the rest of the month.
It's a one
Okay.
setting.
Yeah, we're doing this for the rest of the month. So
I'm
now,
this is overwhelming.
so now I have 6 squares that I can go put on this. So I can take my paint, or I can. So I'm going to kind of look at this. Okay, there's a lot of like kind of blues. So maybe I can make blue my standard color that I'm going to use to kind of.
Don't you need to put a grid on here though?
That's what I'm about to do. So I'm going to just use like blue to do it though.
Oh, okay. I was thinking pencil.
Nope. I'm going to actually use paint. Because you're going to cover it up again. You can cover it up again. That's the paint tube, just FYI. It's not me. Okay, so now I can kind of, that's the middle. That's the middle, and it doesn't have to be perfect. That is about a third there and there. And I can mark it at the top and at the bottom. If you actually want to draw lines, go for it. I'm not going to. And you can kind of mark where they intersect also if you wanted to. And that's enough for me to look at this picture and look at that. So now I go, okay, I happen to have this color on my palette. Let's look at my picture, and I'll show you my picture a little bit bigger. Do I see this color anywhere on the picture? I sure do. Okay, so I'm going to start with where do I see this color on the picture? Okay, so I see it right on the edge of these 2 lines up to almost halfway. So this whole area is basically covered in that color. Actually, it's not quite, it's like more up here. And then there's some green coming in here, so I kind of want to add a little bit of greenish blue to this. I'm going to pre-mix that color and use some of this green, maybe some of this green too while I'm at it. So I'm going to check my paper, right? So I want to mix that color right there. So I think I'm going to do this green with a little bit of this blue. Check it against my paper. It's not quite there yet. That's pretty close. That's good enough for now. So I'm going to turn my paper so I can see it. I'm going to go, I see that color like there. And then it kind of goes down into this middle square to about here. So rough, loose lines. I'm holding the brush at the back, and I can do many, many layers. But it goes to almost the top of this square. It also goes into this square on the horizon line. So very loosely, I'm going to kind of draw the color where I see it. There's some darker blue in the middle there, so I'm going to put that color where I see it. Some of this color again. And this is just my first layer. I can keep building layer upon layer upon layer like this. And then I say, okay, so now there's like red all along the horizon, which is, it's about, I'm sorry, don't put the brushes in your mouth. That's just a habit I have. But it's probably not a good one with communal library brushes. It's fine at my house. So this is like it's like an orangey red color that I have there. So I'm going to go with this orange. I'm going to add some of this brown.
Hi everyone, Mark Barton here.
Hi, Mark Barton. Okay, and that's the same brown. And I think I want to use some of this red. And now, as we know, the blues and the reds are complementary colors. So if I want to dull down my red, I can always add, greens and reds. So I can always add some greens to my reds to make them duller. So I mix until I think I've got that color that I want. Is that the color? Yeah. Look at that. That's about the color of the grass, the brown parts of the grass. So now what I'm going to do is where I see the grass, that color, so I see that color is all along here. I'm kind of going to put that color there. It's a pretty dull, boring landscape that I picked.
Come back and put more paint over it, but,
Yeah.
It looks like you don't need to, right?
That's the beautiful thing about this. And I'm showing you guys really quickly what the general idea is here. Do you want me to keep showing you?
No. Are you going to keep going as we go?
I can keep going as you go. You're welcome to start. If you have any questions or you need any help, let me know.
If you have background, what do you do about the background? Like my flower pot, I have background.
So,
You don't need a pen.
I grab you some pens and I'll tell you the answer to that in a sec.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So I would, for that, draw your Christmas cactus, and you're going to have a lot of really interesting diverging lines, right? Because you're probably going to make slightly longer lines for this, following the shape of the leaves and the flowers. And when you're done, copy the colors of the background using the same kinds of lines. That's what I would do. So you're not going to draw the structure of the background, but you're going to use similar lines. Think Van Gogh. He's a post-impressionist, but it's the same idea.
Can you help me do this?
Sure. Okay, so you know your canvas. Let me take a sip of water first.
Next time. So how do we do it? We send this to Sarah.
I'm going to go grab the printing address for you. Do you have any questions for me? Okay. Okay. I need some printing slips. Some of these.
Oh,
Yes.
yes. Take them all.
Do they need to pay for color prints if they're going to print color landscapes to draw?
No.
Okay. 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 So if anybody wants to print a landscape, this is where you send it to. You do not have to pay for it. The bottom one is for color. However, no, we'll comp it since it's part of the program. So just one will comp. So choose the base one. However, if you have an iPhone, please download the image to your phone. Make sure it's saved as a PDF and then email it to this address, or we're going to print you a blank line of text.
How do you do that?
If you have any hard
That would
time,
be hard to do.
no, that would be perfect. That would be
Okay.
great. If you have if you have an iPhone and you're struggling with this, Catherine is really good at helping people with that. Maybe I'll ask her to come in here and see if she can help.
You're going to ask her to come in?
I was gonna, yeah. Hey, Catherine. Are you able to help the iPhone users real quick to get an image sent to this?
Yes.
Because apparently there's a lot of them.
Go inside and
Yeah. You want me to hang out here for a sec? I told them what you told me, and they
It's
don't know what
fine.
I'm saying.
Yeah, so I spoke with Eric today, and
Okay.
he said they should be able to forward it,
Okay.
and we can try. So
Okay.
we're gonna.
Yes, I think you wanted to explain everybody. Oh, you're, okay.
Yeah, so
All
we're
right.
gonna.
Should I just send them out here one by one?
Is this on your phone or an email?
I did a screenshot and it's in my photos.
Oh, okay, yours is easy. Yeah, so you just go to the bottom left there,
Oh, so screenshots are
and
good.
mail.
Okay. Okay, so iPhone users, apparently screenshots work too.
screenshot works.
Yeah, so she said she had a screenshot, and then Catherine was like, "Oh, that's easy." So if you have a screenshot, then you can go see Catherine, and she'll tell you.
What would we have other than
This
screenshot?
one? I don't know your name.
Or your screenshot
This
on
one?
your
On your phone?
Yeah.
Hey, someone else should
The
take-
bottom one is the color printer, by the way.
Good, I'm-
We were gonna paint these, except we're changed our minds to painting,
We email it?
You email it to that bottom address. Wow, I did not realize this was so bad. Focus. Yes?
Is there a reason you want them to do you want them to have small photos?
No, I want them to have. So what we're doing is we're taking a photo, we're drawing grid lines on it, and then we're
Okay.
going to put the colors on the canvas in dots, basically where we see them.
Yeah.
So that's why.
Because if they're doing a screenshot, it's on an iPhone especially, it's going to be the size of the
Oh, okay.
yeah, when it prints out.
What's that?
So if we download the photo
Okay.
and send it as an attachment,
Okay.
then I can show
So there's like a few people in here who have iPhones.
I have Android,
what
so I should be good. I sent you an email.
Okay.
So what do we do with an iPhone?
So with an iPhone, the photo that you'd like to use for your work tonight, go ahead and download the photo to your phone. And then once it's downloaded on your phone, locate it in your photos, and then you're gonna send it as an email attachment.
There's an email attachment. Okay, perfect.
Yes, and if anyone needs help, let me know, I can come around.
Okay.
Do they need to save it as a specific format or just save it?
The photo will be fine.
Okay.
Yeah, it's when we get into like PDF. and
Oh, okay.
Word
So no
documents.
PDFs. Okay. So I had it totally backwards.
PDF is
Save it
fine.
as a photo.
It's just the, I forget what it's called, the Apple
Oh,
file.
okay.
Thank you.
So don't mix too much paint. And you can mix it with the brush for this one, since you're going to be applying it with the brush. So I'd say mix one color, apply that color everywhere you see it, and then apply the next color everywhere you see it.
Oh, these are old magazines.
Yeah, they're from the 90s,
Yeah, I
back when
saw that.
National Geographic still had pictures in it.
I haven't seen a magazine from National Geographic in a long time.
Do you have any pencils?
Yeah. Do you want like drawing pencils?
I want to draw the grid on
Okay.
this, so whatever you think.
Yeah. So number 2 should be fine for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's definitely going to bleed through if you paint over it. Eventually the paint that you put on top of it's going to turn like greenish.
With it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so pencil's better. Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure how to do a screenshot on this.
So are you, is this an Android? Okay, Android's my jam. I can do Android.
Okay.
Okay, so we're gonna actually try to download it and see if it will download. I guess not. Okay, so
Yeah, it should be.
So
Nope.
you hit this one?
so usually it's just the down volume and
Oh, okay.
you have this activated as Bixby.
Thank you.
Okay, so it's gonna depend. Let's see if you've got the gesture turned. Nope. Oh, okay. So you do have the gesture turned on. Sorry. So that's the
That's the one
photo.
I want.
Okay, so the gesture is just swipe your hand across the screen. So you've taken a screenshot of that picture now. So
Now,
go to
is it going to be in
your
the gallery?
yeah. So go to your gallery and you can crop it. I don't use the gallery. I usually use Google Photos for mine, but you should be able to crop it. Let's hit the little edit, the pencil, the little pencil button, yeah, and there should be a crop function. There we go. So we're gonna go, and we know this is about a 3x4. Nope, sorry, 2x3. 2x3 you don't have. That's interesting. Let's see. Is this a? That's so strange. Okay, 2x3 is a pretty standard size. Google.
So,
9 by 16.
I just want to put a blue line
That's
for it.
not.
Something similar.
That's not a number that my brain wants to work with. Okay, let's go free. And
I'll be back.
She wants to do the same picture.
I don't really know how to.
So whatever you find for me, just put it.
I guess you're just gonna have to estimate it.
I can see some guidelines in there.
Yeah.
This party started.
We're still figuring this out.
Of course we are.
And
You
then
and
we
Charlie.
send it and then they'll actually print it?
Yes.
We don't have to use
So
our
the two of
phone?
you will
Yes.
think the same.
Yeah. If you want to print it out, you can print it. This is where you send it to. The bottom one is for color.
Okay.
You're welcome.
The prevalence.
I don't understand why this is so blurry.
I tell her to call my phone all the time when I lose it. Don't admit that.
There we
They
go.
don't send me any.
I just never focused it.
They just took my name and ran with it. It's not cool.
So I'll keep going on my fugly landscape.
Don't you think that impressionist paintings always turn out pretty?
Yeah, pretty much. You really can't mess it up.
Do you think that was the intent, wasn't it?
They did not think it was pretty at the time.
No, but like the artists themselves. They said to themselves, this is a rather pretty picture, right? Like that was that's why they chose the colors.
Well, I don't know if they were going for pretty so much as
Rule breaking.
they wanted to sketch a moment.
Uh-huh.
So a moment that would never exist again and that has never existed before then. So I don't think it was so much about pretty as it was about fleeting and
Jolly.
interesting.
Huh. That's funny because like in retrospect, when I look at their pictures, I think they're very appealing because they match the colors. They have excellent compositional skills. Like they came from the old school and they created new
Yes.
things. That was very pretty.
Yes. I honestly don't like post-impressionism as much as impressionism, which I know like that's a crazy.
You're not supposed to feel that way.
I know, like, what do you mean you don't like? I do like Van Gogh, though. He's the exception to the rule, but I do not like Renoir's work.
Van Gogh is like he's like a species of art unto itself.
Yeah, he's like Fatboy Slim or Infected Mushroom. They're just like a genre unto themselves.
She figured it out.
Oh, yay! Yeah, Catherine is the iPhone genius.
Do you need a ruler?
Yes, a pencil and a ruler.
Oh, thank you.
She has a pencil.
There's only one.
I have a pencil.
Okay.
She loaned me the pencil.
I like her picture.
You like it?
Oh yeah,
Thank you. Put my quarters on.
You also don't have to use the same brush, by the way.
why not? There's a whole book full of pictures. Doesn't matter that much. It's gonna turn out different.
I think you used a lot of blue.
Uh-huh, yeah. Yeah, good call. What else can I use? I mixed it with,
I don't know which other color you mixed.
well, what color do I have here?
Purple.
Okay, so what do you mix blue with? Yeah.
She doesn't know that.
Sure she does. She learned it last week.
That's weird.
I've got a pen I can use. Which will be just fine.
You can look, you can see, I don't know if you can see from here to the color wheel. So if you look between, purple. To get between, let's see, I used blue and I got the purple. So which way along the color wheel would I have to move?
Green?
Do you see how green is closer to blue? than
I did again.
So, see how purple is at the top on the color wheel? You see the purple's like the bottom? There it is. And then
Violet.
Blue is over to one side.
So what's on the other side of the purple?
To get to purple.
Oh, red.
Yeah, you have to pull it towards purple, use red.
I couldn't see the color wheel.
It's pretty useful.
Yeah.
You just realized it's nice having a cookie.
Yep. That's why we did it last week. Okay, what are you drawing, Becca?
I'm waiting for our picture.
Oh, you're waiting for your picture. Okay.
Trying to find this one,
Okay.
because the one I sent was too small.
Oh, okay. So she's gonna try to download a better version of it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You can also switch your brushes and use a different brush. You don't have to do all stippling with the same size brush.
Okay, you're tapping.
Yeah, I mean, because I feel like an impressionist. That I think is how they do it.
Ho, ho, ho.
I think we should all have berets.
Well, knit us some berets. You're
Your
the
picture is coming perfectly.
mine? No. I'm very unhappy with this, but anyway. I'm just kind of trying to use the paint up at this point. Anybody have use for this paint? These colors?
It's on my palette.
No.
Why are you unhappy with it?
I just don't like it. I don't like that picture to begin with.
Actually, I might be able to use that blue. Thank you.
Use it, please, so it doesn't go to waste. Yeah, and if you don't, like, there's all these tubes of acrylic too. If you don't find the color that you want in that set that you've got in front of you, go grab from the tubes of different colors. And we've got more in the closet too that I can pull out if we need to. They're just doing pour painting this month at some point or next month. I don't know if it's this month or next month. I think it's next month actually. Well, you better sign up, girl.
I didn't see it on the website.
Well, maybe it's not up yet. I'm not actually sure when they're doing. Actually, I think it is in May. I do believe it's in May. Yeah.
Something about something else.
Yeah, there's the flower canvas thing this month, but there's pour painting next month. So if you're one of the people that have been hounding Betsy about pour paint, you better sign up.
I haven't been hounding her, but it sounds interesting. So I'll definitely come.
Yeah, they ordered a bunch of paint for that. I think this is a color that you can probably use in your palette.
Oh, thank you.
Yes? Maybe? It is, but it looks a lot like some of the colors you have on your painting or in your drawing there.
I think you have your picture is popping right now.
Yeah, making your eyes go.
Ooh, cool. Nice colors. Shorter lines. I want you to build up the lines. Instead of making long lines, I want you to make a bunch of short, like sketching, you know? Like if you're sketching, just roughly sketching, so that's kind of what you're doing. You're roughly sketching with paint. So
Thank
you can keep going, but just avoid the long lines. Just draw shorter lines of the
Now we have to
color
go
where you
this
see
way.
them.
Can you help me divide this?
And when you're done, can you help me divide it?
Okay. Okay. So, oh, you're doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Okay. So can I put this away? Get it out of your way.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I'll bring one. That is inches, which are dumb. There we go.
She already had her ruler. I need a ruler.
Yeah, there we go.
Thank you.
So measure, so we know, so measure this. Is this going to be the same size? Of course, it's slightly smaller. Nope, it's slightly smaller. Okay, I was going to say we can just make it exactly the same, but no, it's smaller. Okay, so you're just going to divide this in half from top to bottom, but only the picture part. So not the borders, not the white part. So measure from the edge of the color there to the edge of the color there in the middle.
Are you done with your pencil?
Yes.
Okay.
There you go.
Use this side of the ruler because it's easier to work with centimeters. They make sense. So we're going to start with the 0 line up here. Yep, right on that edge, and we're going to see that is 20.5 10.3 or something. So we're going to say 10 point, can you see where 10 and 1 little line is, or 10 and 1.5 little lines? Mark that point. Okay.
What are we doing? What?
You're measuring from the top of the picture to the bottom of the picture and dividing it in half.
So I already.
She's using the centimeter side.
Oh, okay.
So if you put the 0 on the edge there, then you want to go to like 10.15.
I think so. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, so that's that's the middle line. So we're not going to draw that yet. And then measure from side to side, from this side here to that side there.
Warm purple.
Now you got to put the little 0, so that's the 0 on the edge for the color. And then you get 20.
27.
That's 27. So that's 25 and 3 little lines. So that's like 8 and 8.4 and a little bit. So where it says 8 on that little line there by my nail, make a dot there.
8.4?
8.4, yeah. And then we're going to measure 8.4 from this side also. So we're going to put the 8.4, hold on, 8.4 on the edge of the cutter here, so right there, and then make it on the 0, on that, yeah, last little line. Okay, and then you're going to just what did I do?
I have no
okay.
clue.
No, I got it.
I think
I got it. So you're going to draw a line like that through the picture. So you're going to draw, yeah, so just draw from top to bottom,
Okay.
but make sure it's straight. Yep. And then you're going to draw a line
No, I didn't.
on this side of the ruler. Hold on, let me make sure it's straight before you put your hands down. That's pretty good. Okay, so draw right there. I'll hold it. Oh, I moved it. I'm sorry. Take the hands away. Okay, I'll hold it, you draw it. And then I'll draw there.
Like that.
Yep, like that. And now you're going to do the same thing with your canvas. You're going to measure.
Just do it approximate on here though?
Yeah, you can do it approximate on there.
Okay.
So just kind of, we'll just use we'll just kind of estimate with our eye. So we kind of look at this. We go, no, we'll measure a little bit. So that's 22.5. So we're going to go with 11. And I want you to make a mark for me on the 11 and 2.5 little lines.
Right here?
Yeah, that looks right. Okay, that's good. So we're going to go, no, not so dark. Just tickle across the page.
Sorry.
That's okay. That's okay. Yep, tickle. Okay, that's fine. That's good. That's okay. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, that's it. Because otherwise you're going to get some of the gray in your paint, and then it's going to mess up your color. Okay, so just draw across. Yep, light line, that's it. And then we're gonna, let's look at this way. That's about 30. It's 30.2 or something. We're gonna say just on that 10 there, and just on that 20 over there. Okay, that's good. And then we're gonna draw. No, you gotta draw against the ruler though. Good.
Oops, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. And get rid of the. Okay, and just against the ruler. Not too hard. Good. Okay, so now you're ready to get started. You've got easy colors. You've got mostly just the colors that are in your tubes. So you might need some
Should
of
I do the
this
purple
color.
first?
Up to you. You just paint the colors you see, where you see them. I'm going to give you guys that color too, because you'll need that color.
Sarah, one thing I did not notice, Steve mentioned when you were showing the pictures.
Mm-hmm.
You know how last week you were talking about how I left a little white of the canvas showing? Is it okay to leave canvas showing in this or no?
I think it's a matter of preference, but I don't like canvas to show through in
through.
acrylics.
Okay.
The fact that you're emphasizing the brushwork in this, it's probably not going to look bad if you do,
Okay.
but
Quite a bit of paint now.
I wouldn't.
Better not, okay.
Oh,
It's up to you.
we'll use that. I mean, what's it need? It's not a paint over here.
Very cool. Very ambitious too. I think it's going to look real nice though.
What? Because I've got so much work done. You're incredibly impressed by that? Sarah said that I'm not allowed to leave my canvas unpainted.
Yes.
I'm getting down to it.
Layers. Layers, layers, layers. Thick. Make it thick. It's looking good. Yeah. What do you think?
I'm getting there.
We should have done flowers.
You are doing flowers. I think it's going to look very nice when you're done.
Thank you.
Yeah, this is a marathon, not a sprint. That's a great opportunity to practice, but a part of it is also just putting the colors next to each other instead of mixing them. So, and use your color wheel. And if you have a question about mixing colors, that's part of what I'm here for. Okay, well, I think I'm going to start over with a different picture, since you're all happily painting away. And I'm here if you have questions.
I remember one of my instructors early on told me that you have happy mistakes and you make them work.
Oh yes, that's a Bob Ross line. He stole that from Bob Ross. Happy accidents.
Oh, happy.
Happy accidents.
And a couple things I was getting ready to throw away, and she made me do them over again on the same canvas or piece of paper to correct them.
Mm-hmm.
And they turned out good after
Yeah.
I worked on them.
That's the wonderful thing about acrylics is it's the most forgiving medium.
This was watercolor.
Oh. Ooh.
She was really,
Okay.
yes,
Watercolor is the meanest medium there is.
yes, I noticed that.
I'm, for the umpteenth time now, back at trying to make watercolors work for me. And they don't like me.
You know what's funny about watercolors, I mean, being so mean and everything, is that that's usually what they start little kids out on. 'Cause, like,
I don't know
you
why. It's just why. Why would you do that to a child?
Yeah, well.
I guess they're
because-
cheap.
Yeah, well, we're cheap, that's fine.
Yeah.
And
that's
I
good.
am too.
Right.
Well, real good watercolors
Yeah,
are
they're-
not
they're
cheap.
not cheap.
No, they're not cheap.
Yeah.
Fun to have
Good watercolors are incredibly expensive. I know I just ordered some and they were really pricey.
I've always wanted to learn watercolor, and I just bought those Faber-Castell watercolor pencils.
The pencils? I don't really like the pencils very much because I feel like you lack all the good things about pencils and all the good things about watercolor when you use the watercolor pencils.
I've never used them.
Yeah?
I just bought them.
Yeah. I mean, I like them as paint. I have a set of watercolor pencils that I like as pencils. I think they're Staedtler, but I don't like them for the watercolor application at all. I don't use them for that. I should just go to my Etsy. Oh.
It's so funny. Speaking of watercolors, I'm trying to paint these acrylics like watercolors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, acrylics are acrylics. I guess I mean, you could glaze with them. I've seen people glaze very successfully with acrylics and create some really beautiful stuff. It's not my favorite way to use them. I like acrylics because they're thick. You know, they create like texture as well as color. So that's one of the things I like about acrylics.
You can pretend you're painting oil.
Yeah. I mean, you can use them exactly like oil paint, except they dry quicker, so you got to work faster.
They covered up one spot.
Oh, I think that'd be fine, because as you're just saying, you know, you can paint on another layer,
Yeah.
right? So I think it's fine if you got a little closer on these sides to get up close, because look, there's green between the little flowers. So why don't you make sure that you get that green colored in properly, so you can come back with the blue. Does that make sense? Get the background all green behind them?
You can't mess this up, Becca. Just keep going. I love when people figure out they can't mess up acrylics. It's just, you just have to wait. If you make a mistake, you just have to wait.
There.
Don't avoid your tree and paint around it. Paint into where the tree's gonna be. And then, yes, I would.
And then
I
paint
would.
the tree over it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I would.
Okay, good, thank you.
Because otherwise you're gonna wind up having to paint blue in between tree, and that's
what
gonna be a
I'm-
pain in the
That's what
butt.
I'm worried about.
So sort of like paint the background first.
Paint the background a little bit more closely than you think it needs to be.
Okay.
Do you have any gesso or white over there that I can use? I'm mixing up the whole tube.
Oh,
There's some white right here.
yeah, there's white behind you.
Right here.
Oh,
Yep, we have extra white.
I need lots of white.
I made sure we had extra white. Because I know. Every time I have to run to Walmart in the middle of the night when I'm painting, it's because I ran out of white.
Walmart's open in the middle of the night?
It used to be.
Yeah.
I don't know, is there any?
Some of them are, I think. They're open later than Michael's, that's for sure.
She's almost done. Me? No.
Yeah, you can definitely see it, the subject is well defined.
Where's your source? What are you working with? What's the reference?
Very,
That looks very cool.
I like the video.
Oh, okay. Oh, I see. Okay.
I think I like this too much. maybe? I remember.
So in the video, they have more of the color overlapping. But I prefer that you use work from a picture rather than the video,
Okay.
because then so you can take a screenshot of the picture and then look at the yeah. So you've got something that's standing still that you can look at, that you can compare to yours, and you can see where the differences are.
You know, there's a website called Paint My Photo.
So you can wait for it to dry and then make another layer on top that looks more like the picture that you're trying to paint.
People can go, if they want to find a picture that they want to paint, you look for a photo that appeals to you. And I think you usually just like, when you download it, obviously it tells the photographer that someone is
I have to
borrowing
wait
the
until the
photo.
green's dry.
Hmm?
I said I have to wait until the green's dry.
Yeah, you pretty much have to wait until the green's dry, but you can start working on the sky part so long, because there's still white there. So if you start working on the blue parts at the top, then by the time you're done with that, the green will be dry. You see, there's like a lot of blue stuff going on here, so you can start with that. You want to maybe get some clean water though.
Yeah, I know our water's nasty.
It's too dark. I got too much.
That looks stupid.
No, I just think you need to, it's not corn on the cob. There's space between the splashes of
green
purple.
in between.
So yeah, so put more green in between, but also like, do you see how far this stands out in comparison to your canvas? Like, do you see how wide the purple goes here versus here? So, and then also the reason we drew the lines, do you see how this is in the top, like the top of that green top there is up here.
So I messed up.
It's okay. You can. It's acrylic. You can just cover it up and do it.
How do I cover it up?
You just go over it with green.
And then start over?
Yeah, you can just start over on this one basically.
Just cover all of it with green?
Yeah, I would cover that one with green because you've got all the time in the world.
Okay.
So the second time you just do it a little bit bigger and better. So that's the reason we're using the grid, is so you'd mark the top of it. You'll find where the top of it is about on the canvas, and then you'd mark the top of it first. And then you'd find where the bottom of it is and mark the bottom of it. And
So I
then
messed up this one too.
what do you think? It's a little short, huh?
I messed up that one too.
Yeah. It's a little bit short. I think it should be a little taller. This one's about the right height. This one, I think, should be a little bit taller too, but you can probably fix that.
To just fix these two.
Yeah. Do you see how there's like a darker color in the background though? It's like almost dark purple red. So I would start with that color and then do the lighter purple on top. That's just how I would do it.
When I cleaned my brushes last time, I got paint all of them on one. Oh, yeah, took me a while to get it clean. And yeah, I'm trying to get clean water.
Can you pass me that notebook, please?
And get my brushes.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Surprising how quickly the water gets boogered up.
Yeah, acrylics do that. And we have really small tubs for acrylic for water. I use big old mason jars or pickle jars at home when I do acrylics. Especially with brushes this big.
The brushes are a little bit big.
Yes. Well, we have smaller ones. You just gotta dig.
I got water all over me.
Well, I don't think I made it over here yet. Cool. going to be very nice.
Yeah. You got any started already?
Do you see how there's like dark
Mhm.
cliff faces behind?
Yeah,
So I'd fill those in sooner rather than later.
okay.
Does that look like water?
Yeah. I think once you start adding the lighter
Light,
shades on
yeah.
top, it's going to look very nice.
Okay.
But it's good. I like when I do acrylics to start with the darker colors and then build up to my lighter shades.
Why do you choose to do that, Sarah?
It's just how I see shape. Because if you look at it like a round shape, the parts that's closer towards you is the lightest part usually. Not always, but usually,
So
Where
like
can I put
physically
this to
building
dry?
layers towards you.
basically.
Where can I put this to dry?
Are you done with it for today?
Yeah, because she needs to take her meds.
Oh, okay.
That's why we did it
So in one of those cubbies, just put newspaper underneath it.
Okay.
These ones from last week are dry, so I'll get these out of the way.
Green or purple?
Okay, so
No promises, but we'll try to come.
okay.
To finish our other things.
There's actually another place you can also put them, and that's in this. If they're bigger, you can put them over here. So on any of the trays that are empty, on any of the shelves that are empty, you can slide it in there. Yeah, that's fine. That's good. Let me just fix this shelf that wants to fall down apparently. What the heck? How did this even happen?
I have paper breaker.
There we go.
Just put it right in here.
There we go. Okay. No, in here is good too.
Oh, she wants it over there, but
Yeah, this is actually going to be workout. That's what this thing is for drying paintings. So in any of the empty shelves. I don't know why some of these aren't sitting in there right though. There we go.
I'll come work. I'm gonna try to come on Thursday and work on this one.
Okay.
And I'll come back to work on mine too.
Someone has their app in there. It's really good.
Yeah, there's a few of them from last week. I think that's that. These are nice too. The grapes. I think that's hers. With your paint or your water?
My paint and canvas.
Yeah, you have to let it dry in between. So your colors don't mingle too much.
And this green looks so blue and that looks so yellow.
So so you just said it. What do you need to mix with your green to make it more the color you want it to be?
More yellow?
Yeah, there we go. So add more yellow. And you can probably also add a touch of red, just the smallest bit of red to that. Because
Put
it's
that there and I was like, to the green part, add red?
yeah. So if you mix, so there you have nothing to lose by taking a little bit of green and mixing in the smallest amount of red. Right? So that's the color you have. That's the color you want.
Wow,
So if
that's
we
perfect.
mix in a little bit of red, that's too much. It's going to make it duller. It's going to make it more brown. But you're right, it also needs yellow. So That's closer, right? What's on the
Much,
tip
much,
there
much,
is closer to what, but so that's good for the darkest color, and then for the lightest color, you'll add some yellow. So you don't look. It doesn't look like mud. Keep going. You're good.
Thank you.
I think I'll keep.
Should I let this
Where
dry
did
first
you
before
find
I
the-
do that?
I would let that section dry, but you can work on one of the lower parts of it if you wanted to. Your sky is not quite dry, but it's close to it. Yeah, you can work on the bottom pieces, the background for the bottom piece is so long.
Anyone need any of this?
Yeah, I've already boogered up this one pretty bad.
I'm gonna take the dog out tomorrow, Rebecca.
Okay,
I don't know where these go. Where did these go?
over there.
Yep, in one of those boxes, please. We also have this color, which is an easier starting color for you probably, closer to what you're trying to achieve.
Alright, I'm gonna try to be here Thursday, but no promises.
Mhm.
I'm
You're-
gonna- I'm gonna
You come
try.
for you, not for me.
I know, but I need you here so you can get the paint and stuff out for us.
Okay. Well, someone will be here if I'm not, and they can get it out for you.
Okay.
Have a good night.
You too.
So Sarah, how do you think the impression has gotten to the academy and so they look?
The salon.
For the film?
They actually had a splinter. They went to, they exhibited in some dude's like photo studio, and they called it the Salon des Refugees, like the salon for the outcasts.
Yeah.
I don't know.
They started their own gallery.
Yeah, basically, yeah. And that was around the time where the salon stopped being like the authority, because there was just a lot of other people doing it too. And then eventually the salon did start showing, they relaxed their standards a little bit. And they became a little bit more diverse with what they allowed in.
Okay.
So, and also, you know, everything that is at one point avant-garde is eventually common.
Right.
So,
That's what's so funny about looking at like Renoir and stuff and saying, this is groundbreaking. And you're like, really?
yes, it's not anymore. What was Kafka said, every revolution evaporates and leaves only the slime of a new bureaucracy. It's one of my favorite quotes. Yeah. Yep. Every revolution evaporates and leaves behind only the slime of a new bureaucracy.
Good stuff.
Good stuff. Powerful.
This Kafka guy.
Yep. Kafka was a seriously cynical dude. Hence the saying Kafkaesque. Maybe cynical is not the right word. Maybe realist is better.
They have two states, two apostles. I think maybe his mother didn't like him.
Hmm? Say that again?
His mother didn't hug him enough.
Well, have you read The Metamorphosis?
I haven't read it back then.
He basically turns into a bug and then his family locks him in a room and doesn't want to acknowledge him or talk to him or, yeah. So I think your theory might be onto something.
I think you should put in Heidi and her into your picture.
Swinging, right? Now, thanks. Now that song's going to be stuck in my head.
You did that fast. That's beautiful.
Thank you. Oh, I'm not happy with it, obviously. Obviously. Would I be an artist if I was?
Yeah, have you ever come up to an artist who's like whistling a happy song with the get exactly
Yeah.
what you want?
Yeah. It's brilliant. I'm genius. No.
It's time to stop.
Yes. It's good enough. I don't have to keep learning. Things you'll never hear artists say.
Oh, yeah. It's never done.
That's
No.
what I always felt like. Every time I've ever done anything, it's like it's never done. I've never reached the finishing point. And that's to my detriment though, because sometimes I push it too far.
Yeah.
I think the funny part is usually when I'm doing something, it's getting to the point where, not that I think it's finished, but I think I'm just making it worse.
Yeah.
So just stop.
Yeah, that's I guess when you're done. That's the official definition.
There's a saying, something about the last 5 strokes of a piece will either completely ruin it or make it the best piece of art you've ever created. The final 5 strokes. Yeah, I don't know where that's from though. I remember that from somewhere.
Silly. Well, have you seen that film about J.M.W. Turner? There's a scene in it where he does exactly that.
Yeah, you told us about that last week. You got to find the name of the film so we can all go watch it now though.
I should try to remember. I don't know if it's called Turner. Isn't it called Turner?
Oh, you're asking us. We don't know. You're the one who watched it.
I know. Okay, your assignment next week. It's called Mr. Turner. So I was real close.
Oh, I see the black is untouched. You all listened to the presentation. Good job.
I was told never to touch the black,
I disagree.
but sometimes I do because I can't.
If you want it to dry, you can put it in the drying rack. Anywhere in there that's empty.
Well, what if you're painting one of those like a Baroque old master of like a a bunch of flowers and stuff in the background?
Thanks. You too.
Good night, everybody.
Bye.
Yeah, I feel like reproducing a Baroque painting. But there's a lot of reasons to add black into your paintings.
So this Thursday, this is open too?
Yes. Thursday's open enough, so then we put out limited supplies. But on Friday, we have free studio space. So you can book a table and come work on anything you want to work on. And if you want to use our acrylics to work on your art, then you can do that. If you wanted to come in free studio space or in an open loft time to come work on, I think that would be okay.
Is it in the evening or is it?
It's all day. You can check with them on the way out and they can sign you up.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Sure, how much time do we have left?
Who?
Never mind, got it.
Okay. These are not good palettes for acrylic. I need more space.
I know.
On your palette? Oh.
Yeah, I like to work with really large flat palettes when I paint. I actually use like the lids of like Folgers coffee or something like that, like recycled stuff.
You know what I found is a plastic egg carton.
Yeah?
That I thought, oh, this is wonderful, with all these little cups.
Yeah. In South Africa, we have ice cream in big tubs. So ice cream tub lids were my favorite thing to paint on, to use as palettes.
Did you know that there's a couple of authentic Bob Ross paintings locally?
Oh yeah?
Philippa Radner.
Where?
Philippa Radner?
I don't.
Yeah, I know.
St. Petersburg.
Oh, okay.
Isn't that the name of the town? It's not far. I mean, it's like, what is that? 15 minutes away from here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Two Bob Ross paintings.
I was told there was a Netflix special about Bob Ross and how his family lost like the rights to his
Oh.
empire and stuff.
Empire.
Yeah.
The Bob Ross Empire. I love thinking of it as an empire.
He recorded each one of these seasons in one afternoon.
Wow.
Yeah, it was the cool thing about the painting technique that he used, the wet on wet technique that he sort of pioneered, is that it was super quick.
You're saying he sat there,
Oh yeah.
just painted painting after painting.
Yep.
So what I read of Philippa Radner is that there are 3 copies of every composition. There's one that's he's painted, as a preliminary
Mm.
to explore the subject, and then there's one obviously that he painted in the city
Mhm.
during the show. And I guess there's a third one that he painted maybe to show off. Like it would be like the complete, like after he did the pre one, I think he did a more finished copy.
Mm.
So yeah, every composition out there has got 3 copies.
Interesting. I did not know that.
That's why I was like, he didn't paint 3.
Oh no, I don't.
So he did a whole bunch of homework previous.
Yeah, no, he recorded the entire season in one sitting. Yeah. And he,
How did he have the energy for that?
well, maybe that's why he's so low key.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, if you wanna go to sleep at night, he's always good to keep
Mhm.
on you if you can't sleep in the middle of the night.
It's true.
That, or if you put on one of the animal shows on PBS and they're talking in the quietness of whatever.
When you say one of the animals is, you mean,
Like,
it's like a nature program?
nature program from
Like
PBS.
elephants or something?
When I was a teacher, I taught science, and there was a lot of really good documentaries that went along with what I was teaching. And I was teaching high school students.
Yeah.
And the best thing, if I needed to grade papers and needed them to be quiet and pay attention, was to put on David Attenborough.
Oh.
David Attenborough had half the class asleep in about 5 minutes and the rest of them within 15.
They all fell asleep today?
Something about his voice, and I like him.
I love David
I
Attenborough.
do too, but boy, that's all it took. They just couldn't take it. It was like giving them sleeping pills.
David Attenborough, makes everything all right,
Yes, he does.
right? Which is a great way to fall asleep.
Yep.